you know, either younger than us or, you know, passed and retired. So why not? You know, I want to challenge myself. The best always looking to fight the best and challenge themselves, you know, and why not, you know, challenge.
Crawford can't beat him, right? This is a money grab for Terence Crawford. It's just a situation where Terence Crawford is trying to fill up his bank account opposed to actually his legacy.
But if you study Floyd closely like I have, you will notice that he never wastes any steps while he's in the ring.
Terence Crawford reportedly agrees to Floyd Mayweather's fight proposal during a live interview with Stephen A. Smith. Crawford shares that boxing for him is about pushing boundaries and facing challenges regardless of how massive they may be. He states that the top fighters should compete against each other and confirms that he is prepared to rise to the occasion once more. Speaking with steady confidence, Crawford clearly shows that taking on Mayweather is another opportunity to prove his ability and surpass all expectations.
They got to pay the cheddar to make it better, right?
For sure, for sure. All money ain't good money, so you got to know that.
Okay, fair enough. I hate to use the word easy, but at times it did feel like you were, you know, having a really easy time out there. Were you expecting it to play out that way?
Listen, it's never easy, you know.
Stephen A. Smith has long been known for speaking his mind when covering sports, and boxing is no different. When he applauds Terence Crawford for winning world titles in 4 separate weight classes, it goes far beyond a simple remark and instead recognizes a feat that is uncommon in the modern boxing scene. In an era where many fighters avoid changing divisions due to the danger involved, Crawford's success across 4 weights puts him in a class of his own. Stephen A. points out that this level of flexibility and control confirms Crawford's status as a pound-for-pound legend. It shows not just his ability to adjust physically, but also his sharp skills, strong mindset, and constant hunger to test himself against tougher opponents.
Crawford is the best fighter on the planet. Pound for pound, he's that dude. In this 4-belt era, he is now the undisputed world champion 3 times over. 140 pounds, 147, now 168 pounds, claiming all the belts. You don't see people doing that very often. Going up against a guy who was perceived as being bigger and stronger, Crawford was strong. Crawford was strong enough to fend him off, strong enough to make him respect his own power. He used his jab, he used his distance. He had poise in the ring, he wasn't rattled. He backed up and moved when necessary and kept us different. He exchanged enough to gain respect when necessary. It was a brilliant, brilliant, masterful fight on Terence Crawford's.
Roy Jones Jr., a true icon who understands what it takes to succeed in multiple weight classes, has praised Crawford's skill and intelligence inside the ring. He explains that during Crawford's bout with Canelo Alvarez, he showed the ability to take ideas from the styles of Floyd Mayweather and Erislandy Lara, 2 fighters who challenged Canelo in their own ways. Jones believes that Crawford's strength lies in watching, learning, and then using the right tactics at the right moment, which makes him stand out. This shows that Crawford is not just talented but also a thoughtful student of boxing. What stood out most to Jones was that Crawford did not copy these approaches but adjusted them to fit his own timing and flow, making them work naturally during the fight. This level of adaptability sets him apart from fighters who rely on a single style and often struggle when facing top-level opponents.
People like Erislandy Lara gave you the blueprint on how to beat him. People like Floyd Mayweather also gave you the blueprint on how to beat him. But Bud is more fierce, more fearsome, and more angrier and more meaner than both of those guys. So you know if they showed you the blueprint, Bud gonna go out there, take that blueprint and do even more with it, which is what Bud did. So it was never a question in my mind whether Bud really was going to outbox me, just if he could take the punch. And right away he showed, bam, he could take the punch. So I knew from that point, if he just slow him down, which he did, he'd be okay. Then late in the fight, what other people still didn't see, late in the fight, Bud started hitting Canelo's body. One of those body shots, I think about the 7th or 8th round, hurt Canelo. I was like, whoa. Bud hit him in the right spot then, and he got Canelo's respect with that too. So Bud fought a very, very awesome fight, fought a beautiful fight, very tactical.
Very controlled.
Yes, it was a beautiful fight for boxing.
It was a beautiful fight. You know, Bud got hit with some shots.
He did. He did.
He got hit with some single shots going out. You know, he's going out and Canelo, if he has you trapped in the corner or along the ropes, it's typically 1 to 2 big shots. You know that if you've watched him.
Yep.
So you could tell Crawford, as he was going out, he knew the one shot was coming, and several times it landed. He even got hit with a 2-piece. I don't remember what round it was, uppercut right hand that Crawford took well. So when you started seeing him absorb the shots, if you're Team Crawford, you don't want him to take that shot. But if you started seeing that, now you know that, okay. And I think that's what gave Crawford the green light to stay there a little bit longer.
He smiled about it.
He smiled about it.
Yeah.
And sometimes that smile can be a lie. And sometimes that smile can mean what I think it meant for Crawford, which is, oh, that's not as bad as I thought it was.
The possibility of Crawford sharing the ring with Floyd Mayweather even in an exhibition bout has triggered strong discussion among fans and experts. Some critics feel that taking part in such a fight could harm Crawford's long-term legacy. They argue that rather than continuing to build on major accomplishments like defeating Errol Spence and outboxing Canelo Alvarez, he would be focusing more on earning money than chasing true competitive greatness. This view comes from the belief that Mayweather's recent fights have been more about big paydays than adding meaningful moments to his career record. Analysts suggest that Crawford has invested too much effort and discipline to risk being labeled as someone who values profit over history. However, others believe Crawford's place in boxing history is already firmly established. From that perspective, a fight with Mayweather would simply become another interesting and memorable chapter in his journey.
It's just a situation where Terence Crawford is trying to fill up his bank account opposed to actually his legacy. This is what was being said, right? This is what people perceived. Terence Crawford was just attempting to.
When people line up the careers of Mayweather and Crawford, the discussion quickly becomes complicated. Floyd's record features victories over several legendary fighters in boxing history. Still, many critics focus on when those wins happened. Canelo was young and not fully developed when he fought Mayweather, and Pacquiao entered their highly anticipated 2015 bout with an injury. In addition, Floyd's refusal to offer rematches, especially against Pacquiao, created lasting questions for many fans. In comparison, Crawford has dominated rivals who were widely viewed as being in their prime at the time they faced him. This contrast keeps the debate alive over whether Mayweather's flawless record was driven more by pure skill or by smart timing and careful opponent selection.
We talk about this now. A lot of you guys are putting Crawford a bit too high. If you want to say Crawford could beat Floyd, I'm more open to that conversation, but when you're lining up the careers, I'm going to say Floyd every time. While they're both 5-division, Bud has become 3-time undisputed, but he's only fought 10 world champions to Floyd's 25 world champions. You can't take away the 5-division, 3-time undisputed. In terms of accolades, yeah, he probably gets the nod over Floyd. I say their accolades are about relative, considering Floyd Mayweather won Fighter of the Decade as well. But when you get to the resumes, Pacquiao, Oscar, Canelo, Cotto, Mosley, Castillo, Marquez, Zab, Gotti, Hatton, and Corley. There's probably way more people that this guy just didn't name. And then when you get to Bud's resume, not saying it's just bad, but the only names that's really worth mentioning is going to be Spence and Canelo. It's not a knock on Bud. Bud was not able to make those fights early on in his career. But I got to tell you guys what it is. Bud's resume just doesn't line up with Floyd's. Take their top 20 wins. Bud don't even got 20 wins to really sit here and name. Floyd got a good 20-something plus. Bud probably got about 10 wins that we could really sit here and name.
Tony Jeff, a well-respected voice in boxing analysis, has stated that Floyd Mayweather's strongest asset was not only his defense or quickness, but his mentality. Jeff explains that Floyd's deep belief in his ability to defeat any opponent is what made him so dangerous. Even in matches that appeared evenly matched, Mayweather's trust in his superior boxing intelligence consistently gave him the advantage. His skill in reading rivals, adjusting instantly, and remaining composed under pressure separated him from fighters who depended only on natural talent. Jeff adds that this mental strength paired with sharp technique made Floyd seem nearly impossible to beat, and explains why he ended his career with a perfect record.
But you need more than that mindset. You need to have the full package of everything that I'm talking about, what Floyd has got.
Fighters should only want to get better. The more you win, the more you should work hard. If you think about losing, you're going to lose. All I ever thought about was winning. So that's all I know.
Floyd would visualize his success before he even stepped into the ring. There was no alternative to him but winning. And this mindset isn't just for boxing, it's for all walks of life. And I've actually done a full video talking about how I used this mindset of visualization to win my Olympic medal. And it was an absolute game changer. Now, Floyd used to use this mindset to ease the pressure that he put himself under. And he made himself think like, I'm not under any pressure right now, where he was under immense pressure.
Pressure either makes you or break you. Well, you see where I'm at, so it's obvious that I'm the type of athlete or I'm the type of entertainer that can deal with pressure. There's never no pressure.
Now, if you watch his fight in 2013 when he fought Canelo Alvarez, Canelo came in a young, strong, undefeated fighter, but by round 2, Floyd kind of had him figured out. He was reading Canelo's jab. He would slip outside and then come back with a clean counter punch, then move his feet and get out of the way. He basically had the full fight under control, and he was controlling the full rhythm of the fight. He was forcing Canelo to fight at his pace. And this is what he would do in all of his fights. He would get his opponent to do what he wanted them to do without their opponent even realizing it, which is what we call boxing IQ. Now, even though I'm not a fan of Floyd Mayweather personally, because of the time when I did meet him, what he said to me.
The boxing world is always eager for exciting matchups, and one of the most discussed recently is Terence Crawford taking on David Benavidez. Benavidez brings size, strength, and non-stop aggression, creating a tough test for any opponent. Fans view this potential fight as the kind of challenge that could push Crawford further than ever before. Speculation continues even though no official announcement has been made. This conversation highlights fans' desire for high-risk fights that define legacies instead of exhibition bouts focused more on money than competition. Crawford versus Benavidez would pit skill against power and accuracy against force, making it a must-see matchup for many boxing enthusiasts.
This past Saturday, Mexican Independence Day weekend, what he took on defeated another first ballot Hall of Famer, but he essentially jumped up 3 weight classes, technically 2, from 154 to 168, but only had 1 fight at 154 last August against Israel Majamov. Terence Crawford defeated Saul Canelo Alvarez, who is a 4-division champion, 2-time undisputed super middleweight, and the reigning, at the time, super middleweight world champion, undisputed world champion. And Terence Crawford beat him handily and convincingly. And because he beat him so easily, now the 63 win, 3 loss, 2 draw, 39 win by way of knockout, biggest threat has been now imposed on Terence Bud Crawford. And that's the Mexican Ecuadorian monster, David Benavidez, who is a 2-division undefeated world champion, is the 2-time WBC super middleweight and reigning WBC light heavyweight, 175-pound champion, who has a record of 30 wins, no loss, no draw, 24 wins by way of knockout. He stands 6'2" with a 75-inch arm. This is a fight that David Benavidez has been calling for Canelo Alvarez when he was at 168, and Canelo Alvarez strategically maneuvered around him. But Canelo Alvarez is 5'7" with a 70-inch arm reach, started his career at 147 pounds, made his real name at 154 pounds. He's not a big guy, okay? And styles make fights. Benavidez is 6'2" with a 75-inch arm reach. His last fight at 168 against Demetrius Andrade, he rehydrated to 193. So he's a big guy. Canelo Alvarez probably rehydrate to 182, maybe 185 max, right? He's not a...
Comparing Floyd Mayweather and Terence Crawford is a discussion without a simple answer. Both have taken on the top fighters of their time and emerged with commanding victories. Floyd's flawless record and defensive skill made him stand out in his generation, while Crawford's talent to move up in weight and remain dominant is just as remarkable. The debate is made more difficult because their eras and situations were very different, making a direct comparison tricky. In the end, it may be impossible to say definitively who is greater, but together they set the benchmark for excellence in boxing.
If Crawford was to win, we're going to be seeing a lot of these debates on whether or not Floyd Mayweather or Terence Crawford is going to be better. Now, this is going to be a debate for a long, long time. I'm talking about one of those debates like LeBron versus MJ, Messi versus Ronaldo. It's one of those. And the thing is, I can get behind it. Let me go ahead and say this. When it comes to resume, I do think we give Floyd Mayweather the edge. I mean, he beat a bunch of champions. He reigned for a long time. While Crawford, his resume is heavily criticized, and he's just not getting, his kind of respect for beating Errol Spence and Canelo Alvarez. But if we're talking strictly off of skills, this is where things get really, really tough to talk about. I think a fair assessment of this matchup would be Floyd Mayweather wins from 135 and 140, while Crawford wins from 147 to 154. And I say that because I feel like Floyd's style changed once he got to welterweight. He became a more defensive fighter, and he just wasn't as much focused on offense. And knowing this, I feel like Crawford would have had a much better chance of handling him. And we all know, Crawford was an absolute monster at welterweight. But hey man, like I said, this is going to be a debate for a very long time. I can't wait to hear all the talk about it. But I'm curious on your thoughts. Who you think wins in the fight, Floyd or Terence Crawford? Let's talk about it. And follow me for more.
Greg Hackett's comments on Crawford's victory over Canelo perfectly highlight what the fight represented. By calling Canelo the best in boxing, Hackett points out how dominant and respected he had been for over 10 years. Crawford's performance not only challenged him but took control and thoroughly outclassed him, signaling a major shift in power. According to Hackett, Crawford has now become the fighter others fear, the one at the very top of the sport. This win did more than enhance his record, it changed the boxing scene, establishing Crawford as the man who toppled the former king and became the new leader himself.
Guy right now in the sport that's supposed to be the man, big bad wolf. You beat him, you the wolf. Now it's like, what I mean? Like, all right, who else I'm gonna fight? You beat the shark, you beat the wolf. Right. Damn. Like, ain't no more ops out there. It's ops out there, but who gonna make them really want to get up? That's the
shit. Got to make sense. Like you said, you be the shark and then you be the wolf.
Yeah.
But there's the monster.
Yeah, there is, but that's like a real monster.
Bro, to me it don't make sense. But that's
really
what.
A monster.
Yo, is that proof? All right, we got the legendary Pape in the building. Legend.
Sure, man.
But what makes sense? Like, what makes the most sense? I know you said get a line of suits, Brooks Brothers.
Yeah, get a line of suits. Get a line of suits, get your money, man. Go ahead and get the easy money. You ain't got to sweat no more.
What's up, boy?
Not saying you ain't got to work, you ain't got to sweat.
What's happening?
He's paved a career where he could sit down at a table and get this money. He could come out with a Terence Crawford series now, just doing whatever he like to do. People gonna watch it. Nobody, the fighting part, people don't understand what it's like to be a fighter. A lot of times fighters really don't be interested in certain fights. It's cause when a guy see himself up here and then fighting a guy down here, it don't interest him. So therefore, when he train, he not gonna really train. He gonna train, but he not gonna train. He not gonna listen.
Crawford's win over Canelo Alvarez marked a defining moment in his career that erased any remaining doubts. Prior to this fight, his victory over Errol Spence had already quieted many critics who questioned the quality of his opponents. Against Spence, Crawford demonstrated complete control throughout the match. Yet it was his performance against Canelo, a fighter seen as nearly unbeatable, that truly secured his place in boxing history. Analysts now widely agree that these wins leave no question that Crawford ranks among the all-time greats. His skill in outmatching champions across multiple divisions shows his dominance beyond dispute.
And I think Crawford displayed his skill enough, even to someone with not the most trained eye, that they know they saw a very high-level athlete perform something at a very high level last night. I think he gained the sports world's attention last night and respect. He already did after Spence, but it went to another level in this fight.
And I think even the fight itself, like just from a median level, but then the moments where they were having these exchanges, like kind of late in the fight, then people were like, all right, it was good. Then like, okay, I saw something like they're squabbing, like there's a fight here. So I think it did.
And Crawford closed the show.
Yeah.
In 10, 11, 12, he stood in there and landed some hard shots and rocked Canelo at the bell. He didn't James was talking about the great Floyd Mayweather. Floyd would go up on you 8-0 and then coast, and you might as well turn the fight off at midway through the ninth. Like, you know, he's not gonna. But Crawford didn't do that.
All right, everyone, keep following for the latest boxing news, highlights, events, and stories. Subscribe to Ring Headquaterzz and switch on notifications so you never miss anything. Make sure to check out our other videos as well. Until next time, take care and stay safe.